While we were in yeshiva in Boston, my father was the manal of the yeshiva from 1945, 46 until 72. And he built it up from a couple of kids until 300. And now the yeshiva is still there till this day. And it was not easy. The atmosphere after World War II was not encouraging yeshivas. Now assimilation is a problem. There, assimilation was the goal. Okay, everybody felt that if all of the Jews look like and act like the Goyim, we won't have another Holocaust. So that was the logic. So therefore, sending the kids to parochial school is anti-American. Okay, and it's nothing to do. And this is what my father was up against, trying to build up a yeshiva in those days. In fact, there was one person that my father asked to help the yeshiva. He said, "You know what? You're a nice guy. I like you. I'm going to give you a nice donation. Just pack up and go back to New York." Okay? We don't need another Jewish school over here. Here there was one from Mizrahi, Rabbi Kastel, and there's no need for another one. Get up and go. That was pretty much the welcome that my father went up against. And he was able to build it up from scratch, and and eventually the community accepted the idea. But and we used to. I remember clearly that we used to get visitors from New York, from the Anhola, from the administration of Tamuz in New York. They come to test us. I remember Yitzhak Groner came a number of times from Australia. It was before he went to Australia. And Rabbi Simpson, Oliver Sholem, was one of the Anhola, Rabbi Jacobson. They would come from time to time to test us. And then everyone said, "I see the reports of the kids." And, those in the early days. And one time that I remember that one of the teachers brought us to New York to do a Farbrengen. I guess they notified the Rebbe that we were coming, like 5, 6 of us. And the Rebbe, the Sikha even said that those kids here from Boston. And the Rebbe told the whole Farbrengen to scream out 3 times, "No college." Okay? He knew where we were coming from. Boston was the place of college. And the Nisayan of no college is almost unheard of. How are you going to make a living? The Rebbe told the whole Farbrengen, the whole crowd, everybody should scream out 3 times. It's in the Sikhs. Somebody showed it to me. You got it exactly. Tamuz.
Weekday Farbrengen?
A weekday Farbrengen.
Should be a wedding.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
no college. Is it 3 times no college?
Yeah. That was my class. Okay.
You were high school kids?
High school kids. Before graduation. When we went into Yechidus in those days, we went to Yechidus before graduation. The graduating class was called Yechidus. So the Rebbe pleaded to us to take a year or 2 before you go to college. Now, he wasn't saying no college. You knew who was up against. But he said at least spend it after you finish high school, spend a year or 2 learning before you go. So some of the guys ignored it. Some of them are not from anymore. Some are not. Some of the guys never went to college. They went to yeshiva and that go. They came shluchim and very holy Jews. One of my classmates, Rachmiel Stillman, Oliver Sholem, was a shliach in California for many, many years. He decided not to go. Another one of my classmates was a teacher in Detroit. He had such a love for learning, he didn't want to even graduate. He insisted in 12th grade he's going to go to New York and learn veteran D. And it was not easy for my father to convince his parents to put up with that.
Who was that?
His name was Davidson, Aaron Davidson. He also passed away. Huh?
Detroit?
Detroit.
Yeah.
So Aaron was in my class.
Shelly.
Yeah, Shelly.
The Boston boy.
Boston?
Yeah. The bar.
Massachusetts, right?
Huh?
Harvard is also Massachusetts, right?
Yeah. That's not far.
We have Lubavitch from Boston as well.
Who's that?
Lubavitch, a big activist in Hadar Torah, big chassid of the Rebbe. He's a director.
Which neighborhood did Shuvah all come from? Brookline. Okay, that was a more modern, but it went to later. Okay. My parents moved to Brookline. That's where they for a while, yeah. But the Dorchester or Roxbury was the original, where his grandparents were. He's also Boston. So the Rebbe was following us all along. Okay, when it came to get married. Okay, so of course there was a discussion with the Rebbe. You know, the way I heard the story is my in-laws went to the Rebbe and they had their questions. No, yes, no. So is he good enough for our daughter? And the Rebbe pretty much encouraged them they should do it. He said, I know him, I know his father, I know his grandfather. You know, you can marry him. The Rebbe was also sometimes 1 year he sent Chanukah geld. He would give him some 70, would give everybody, and we got it a year later. After them 70 stopped, we got 1 year also, silver dollars from the Rebbe for Chanukah geld. So I mean, the Rebbe was watching everything. Now, it goes on, okay? Got married, Baruch Hashem, and when my first son was born, he was born on Pesach. So the minhag was that for the bris was first day. It was born first day Pesach. The bris was after Shul Pesach. So this is for bringing. So we walked over to the Rebbe with a bottle of wine and tell him we had a bris this morning. So the Rebbe asks me, "What's the name? What name did you give the baby?" So I'm trying to figure, what do I say? Say Menachem Mendel? How do you say that to the Rebbe? Okay. So I'm thinking to myself, so I said, a nomen noch tzemach tzedek, a name after the tzemach tzedek. I mean, I thought it was a chutzpah to say Menachem Mendel. So, but the Rebbe was showing an interest. You know, he wanted to know, the name of the baby. So why am I telling you this? That's why it's so much harder for us older people to deal with it, with Gimmel Tamuz. You know, it's not something, you know, yeah, you learn the Sikha and, you know, and the Gula is coming and everything's good and everything's fine and everything's beautiful. But we also took a hit. I mean, this type of relationship, where you can just walk over to the Rebbe with a bottle or whatever. What was our life? Every Shabbos was a bringing. What was Shabbos? Shabbos, you came to shul, you ran home, made kiddush. I used to cheat. I ran home and eat something quickly so I could still get back to 7:30 to 1:30 because I had a place, you know, I get back to the Rebbe where I could push myself in. So I cheated, but many people didn't. So we didn't eat Suda Shabbos. When I was in yeshiva, it was a big thing of going. You had to go to the shuls to stay over Sichas, to Mincha Maariv. I was always shocked. They look now too. But then it was a big deal. You know, I had to go to East Flatbush, you go to Brownsville, whatever you were going. So sometimes in the winter for bringing, you know, what you would fit, you daven in 770 when we were Bachrim, let's say. Bachrim, you made mezainis, you ate mezainis. There was no meal before the Farbrengen. You're gonna fall asleep if you eat. Mm-hmm. That's not thing. And then you figure after the Farbrengen, well, there's no time. You have to go mincha, and then you have to go running to East Flatbush to be able to chazir your sichas. So either you ran to the dormitory, maybe you'd see if there's something lying around, or you didn't have time for that either, because you made kiddush before. So when would you eat Suda Shabbos? Motzei Shabbos. If there was anything left in yeshiva, you'd have malka. I mean, that's not the normal, every Shabbos, it's only the winter time. Okay? In the summertime, you had longer days, you could do it. But I'm just saying, this was the life. You spent Shabbos with the Rebbe. It was the sichas, you understood more, you understood less. Maybe you'll appreciate this. A debate I had with Meir Abu Chatzira. Okay? Meir Abu Chatzira would stand in the back of the Rebbe. and the Rebbe would every once in a while tell him to whistle. Okay, so we had a debate. His point was, you Hasidim don't get it. Why? Because you're sitting there, the Rebbe said this word, the Rebbe said that word, and this and that. I don't understand anything the Rebbe said. Okay? I just see the whole picture, the whole ambience, the whole experience of what it is. I don't get caught up in these little, did he say this word or that word? I just get to feel the whole thing. So I debated with him. I said, look, for us who understand Yiddish, our avodah is to try and understand every word that the Rebbe said, and that's the way it is. You have a different avodah. Fine, gesundheit. I'm not knocking yours, but don't knock the other way either. I mean, this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to just sit there, close our eyes, and sing. No, we're supposed to struggle and understand as much as we're able to understand. So just saying that this was Shabbos. What's Shabbos today? Nice nap. Maybe you go for a walk. Okay, you learn Torah. I'm not knocking that. But that which we always took for granted. That this is what Shabbos is with the Rebbe. It's with Yontif. Everything. Part of my job was to bring people to the Rebbe. Both as far as Yontif. It was one time we had a very, very. Oh, maybe you'll appreciate this story. One time we got a call. You hear me? Yeah. Yeah. We got a call from a French group. That's what I'm telling you. Better? Yeah. A French group that were touring in Canada, and they were a religious group, and the tour guide promised them everything will be kosher and everything will be Shomer Shabbos. When they came there, they realized that he wasn't coming through, and they were going to have a problem for Shabbos. So they called me in soccer, probably a Tuesday or Wednesday. We don't what are we going to do for Shabbos? I don't know, do 15, 20 kids. And it was in the middle of the summer. Everybody's in the country. Okay? Go finding housing for 20 kids in the middle of the summer was a challenge. And most of them didn't speak English. So that makes it a little bit more interesting. You know, you take a guess, you want somebody to talk to. I don't talk to this kid. So Rappel, huh?
What language?
French.
Oh.
They all spoke French.
Yeah.
So no, they were from France, touring Canada. So
Canada is the second language.
in Quebec, not in Toronto. But people, they were traveling, and we said, look, we'll do it. And we found it. So then I still needed someone to speak to them. So Mayor Chotzer was here that Shabbos. So I went to Mayor and I said, look, Mayor, I got this French group. I got no one else who speaks French around here. See what you can do with them. Okay, so he was the speaker at all the programs. And later, I was told that one of the kids was the son of the Rosh Hakol I believe from Toulouse. And shortly after that, the Shliach Matazov moved to Toulouse as a part of the inspiration of that Shabbos. Because the kids had a good time. They went back and told the parents, that was so nice. And that was, I think there was a definite connection between the two. So I'm just saying, bringing people to the Rebbe that's what we did. That was our job. Okay. Simchas Torah was the hardest, but we have, for example, for a number of years, we would have a busload would come to Simchas Torah from Toronto. Okay? Now, again, Simchas Torah is not the time to get for housing. Also, we would go crazy trying to find places for 40 kids and adults. But we did it, and there are, again, we have payers for that. There are shluchim now grandkids of those people who came from one of those Simchas Torahs, and they were inspired and went back to where they were, and we still have connection with some of those grandchildren. So I'm just trying to say these are what's the point? The point is everything you do is much greater than you think it is. That's, okay, meaning we had no clue what we were doing. We were a bunch of puppets. Okay. We were told, do this, do that, we'll do that. in Hadar Torah, okay, Bochum came, Bochum left. As far as you're concerned, you win some, you lose some. Okay, that's the way it works. The Rebbe saw everything at Deiros. Every student who comes, the Rebbe saw there's going to be children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. And you know, we had no clue what we were doing. Okay, we were told, you know, give a class, give it this. We didn't realize that we're investing in people's lives for generations. And some of these people are now are mashpiyim, have a lot of influence on a lot of other people. So this was all a beginning of, don't get the Baal Tshuva movement was just starting. There was one yeshiva, Chabad had one yeshiva, Hadar Torah, and the Misnagdim had one yeshiva in Far Rockaway. That sometimes our guys went there, sometimes their guys went here, depending who was more disorganized, and sometimes they'll go back and forth. I remember one time, I think that I mentioned because the Rebbe was involved in this. One of the students who was in Hadar Torah, Chatchila, and he knew that what do you do on a Friday afternoon? You go out with a table and put on film with people. He left the yeshiva and he went to Far Rockaway. He went to Far Rockaway and said, "You crazy? This is what you do. Go swimming. Do something interesting. Why are you going to put it on film with people?" And not only that, they came with alumnus, and that made them very confused. Said there's a concept in Torah, mutiv le'shogiyim v'al yimazidin. It's better if you do things accidentally than do it on purpose. When you come over to a Jew and you ask him to put on film, and he doesn't, you're putting him in hell. Okay? If you wouldn't ask him, no one ever asked me, what do you want from me? But here, a Jew asked you, you ask a Jew, and he's not going to do it, it's causing you that he's going to be in trouble. So he was very shaken up by that. He didn't know what to do. So he wrote a letter to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe gave it to Tzach to answer him. And it ended up on my desk, my responsibility. So I looked up the concept. It says in Halacha and Hilchos Yom Kippur, under what conditions do you say that? And part of the conditions are if there's nothing in our Torah involved. It's one of the conditions. So what I did at that point is I sat down with the list of the 10 of Tzoyim, and showing that there's a concept of the deraisa in most of them. Lighting Shabbos candles is not deraisa, but Shabbos is deraisa. So I mean, pretty much, you know, putting on film is deraisa. And if it's deraisa, you don't say mutar shoygiv al himazid in a case like that. You have to feel meyap yomim. You have an obligation to do it. So I wrote this letter back to the students with its sources, showing what it is. And in those days, the Rebbe checked all my correspondence. I couldn't send a letter out unless the Rebbe read it first. And it was the way it would work. If somebody would ask for a program, ask for anything, it would come to us. We would write an answer. I would send in their letter and my response to the Rebbe. We would wait until the Rebbe would let it out, usually in a short time, but sometimes it got stuck in there. And then I could mail it. And a couple of times the Rebbe made comments on the way things should be done differently. Okay, but that was the early years. The Rebbe has such a strong control over everything that we did. So there, the Rebbe told me that I should look up and stay chemed for more marmakevus to be able to do this. So, and I went over with Rabbi Kastel, to what we're supposed to do, and we replied to him. And I never heard from him again. Most of my stories don't have these happy endings. I write a letter and I don't know what happens afterwards. Everybody wants to know what happened. I don't know. Okay, but this is but in those days the Rebbe was very in control of everything we did. I couldn't send out a letter until give you a story with the Rebbe who was very involved. We got I think you'll enjoy it, but I can't say much longer, but I think you enjoyed the story. The story goes like this. There were a couple, where all the Torah is now was the Brooklyn Jewish Center. And there were two Yidden there from the conservative who got very interested in mitzvah film. And they would go every week to the Veterans Hospital in Bensonhurst and put on film. Didn't have a beard. They had a beard. I mean, they weren't Hasidim, but they liked the idea, so they would go. So one time they came back One was called Chaim Dov the Lubavitcher. They called him the Lubavitcher, you know, he did there from, whatever. And they came back to the story, they met a Yid over there, and the Yid tells him, I have a son who is in India with the gurus. And it bothers him very much that, you know, that he's not involved in Yiddishkeit. This is the patient is talking. The patient is talking to the Chevra. So they gave me the address or whatever it is in India, and I wrote him a letter. You know, with those thin blue aerial letters. Okay, so I wrote him a letter. Hello, I'm just reaching out to you. If you're more interested, maybe we can do. So he writes me back. Be not like the frog at the bottom of the well, and think that this is the whole world. There's a big world out there. It's not only a little bit what you think there is. You know, you think that the Yiddishkeit, that that's all there is. There are many other options. This is what he writes me back. Okay, but then in the letter, he asks me to send him a Moreh Nevuchim from the Rambam. Okay, so I'm thinking to myself, should we or shouldn't we? So I sent a letter into the Rebbe, his letter, and my letter with a note, should I send him the Moreh Nevuchim? So the Rebbe
How are you
replied,
thinking not to?
huh?
How are you thinking
I was thinking because they might use it by the gurus. I don't know what they're going to do with it. Like I can't. How do I take responsibility? So I sent it into the Rebbe with a question: should I? So the Rebbe replied, I should, together with a Tanya. Okay, all right. But the Rebbe also read his letter because I go to the point that he made that I didn't react to. And he says, in the future, if you want to maintain a correspondence with me, please call me by my correct name, Swami blah, 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 blah. Okay? I don't know what it was in the name of it, but whatever it was. So I didn't even react to that. I figured I'll just ignore it, and then I'll go do what I got to do. If he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to. I mean, I can just do what I can do. The Rebbe made a point over there and said that tell him you're willing to mavata your title if he will his title. You don't have to call me Rabbi. Okay? If I don't have to call you Swami, you should probably want to call me. So I said, okay, it sounds like a good deal. So I wrote him that. And the correspondence continued for a while. And I thought I even had a happy ending. I thought. Because we kept in correspondence for a while. And then what happened was, he comes back, he's getting married, he met a young lady in India. Whose father was Jewish. Father.
His father.
Her father. Father's Jewish. Okay. Her father's Jewish. Well, you know. So I said, look, you know, okay, there's such a concept of gear, but you guys are going to have to come from, you know, you're going to have to do a lot of changing and a lot of things to be able to want to even talk about that. Then I realized that he is a Kohen. Okay, so the whole thing, it doesn't even make it. There's no way, no matter what, if they wanted to come to Tshuva, he can't marry a Geirus. So now I don't know what to do. And I believe we wrote into Rabbi Feinstein about this. And more or less, there was nothing we could do. Nothing we could do.
Was he willing to become a...
He was showing interest in back in Yiddishkeit, and she was showing interest, but it's not going to. If you're hoping to get married, that's not going to do it for you. Okay, so I'm just saying this is. Then so they ended up staying together. They came back to America, and living in. I think the last I heard they were living in Arizona. And he's not well, whatever it is. They never got married. They just kept living together, which doesn't help me much. So I was saying, you know, I wish I had happy endings, but I don't. Life is not that way. Everything comes happily after.
Well, they didn't get married.
They didn't get married because no one would marry them.
That's a happy ending.
Well, but they lived together. What's the difference? And they had no children. Okay, but I'm just saying that, you know, the Rebbe, the point I'm bringing is that the Rebbe bothered to read through his letter. I didn't mention anything about the Swami thing. Because I figured I'll just ignore it and make believe if he won't write me, he won't write me. What's this? I tried. But no, the Rebbe picked up on it and insisted, that I replied to that point as well. Chaim.
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 Ya, 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 ya.